let's start with our first speaker, my dear friend, Dr. Mangal Parihar, who's practicing in Mumbai, India. And he has 25 plus years of teaching experience, primarily in both adult and pediatric limb reconstruction. He's an expert in Elizarov methodology and has his own fellowship on limb reconstruction.
So, team building. I think this teamwork essentially makes your job much easier in terms of the fact that limb lengthening basically is a team job. I have no relevant disclosures for this. So where did I learn about teamwork? I did a fellowship with Dr. Paley, where we used to joke about the fact that we pre-constructed frames in the evening, went and showed it to Dr. Paley. He deconstructed it, and then we took the frame to, made the frame again, took it to theater, and then even in theater again, he would reconstruct it. Now that was an excellent team, two big consultants, a beautiful physiotherapy department, and all the infrastructure that is possible. Then I also did a fellowship with Dr. Ranawat. And what I really learned over there, apart from all the orthopedics, was the fact of the importance of the team. Because when Dr. Ranawat used to run two theaters together, one with a physician assistant and one with a resident assisting him. And the one with the physician assistant always went very smooth without any trouble. And therefore, when CSR was working, essentially he entered a bubble. And the environment around him, immediately around him, the assistant, the scrub nurse, etc., that was all that he needed. And that's where I really realized what's the importance of a team. And just as they say, it takes a village to raise a child, it really takes a team to reconstruct a limb. So when I got back, I wanted that, how do I get results which are as good as what I used to see over there with infrastructure? That was around 94 when I got back. The infrastructure was not necessarily very good. Today in Mumbai, I think we are reasonably well off in terms of infrastructure compared to some of the other places. So I started off initially with just myself, a OR nurse who was good, who I kind of trained as far as the Elizarov goes, one physio and one X-ray technician who was taught how the X-rays have to be done sort of properly. One of the first things when I was in the US, usually we had these 51-inch full-length X-rays, and these were essential to planning for deformity correction. These were not available in India. So what we did was the kind of made this kind of a stand where we could stack multiple analog, though these were analog days, we could stack multiple cassettes of various sizes together. Now, the important thing there was to be as accurate as possible in the reconstitution of this. So when you look at analog, they have these intensifying screens, and usually there is a 3 centimeter distance between those. So that distance had to be reconstituted in between those cassettes that I had stacked, because the film was 3 centimeters away from each other. And to ensure that the alignment was good, we put 2K wires of a known length that was around 10 centimeters on either side of those cassettes. And when we lined them up and kept them at the right distance, essentially we were able to get a reasonably proper X-ray with proper alignment of the hip, knee, and the ankle, where we could measure lengths, angles, etc. So this is what the entire team generally would comprise of for limb reconstruction. And all of these are important people. Some of the non-technical sides, it's helpful for them to have multiple roles like X-ray techs or physios can also do some element of record keeping, taking pictures and stuff like that. And for me, the team is very, very important, because when I can delegate stuff to other people, it allows me to focus on the thought process part of the um, reconstruction, that is planning. We all know failing to plan, etc. And in terms of doing the surgery, if things are protocolized and people like the nurses and the other people in the OR have a standard way of scrubbing, draping, etc., that leaves less room for error and allows me to focus on the finer points of execution. The doctors don't necessarily need to be academically brilliant. I think that is something that is, if you get it, good. But what's more important is people who are hardworking and interested in this particular specialty. They usually start as fellows or assistants and then gradually can come up to colleagues, And therefore, since all members need to have their own growth, I think in terms of the leader of the team, we need to give attention to improving their skills, stop them when they're making a mistake, and more than firing them, I think we need to explain and train them better. Of course, when they're right, they should be praised. And as far as the doctors go, I think we should also be improving not only their clinical skills, but their teaching skills. It's very useful to have adjunct subspecialties like what I have listed here, because these often come into play when you're doing complex cases. I don't think a single orthopedic surgeon can master all of these things. And the other support staff, all the time that is spent in training and supervising them at the time of creating the team is worth its weight in gold. They are also given as part of their job description training juniors, so that you don't necessarily have to train them. They also develop some kind of teaching skills. Everybody, each and every person, whatever level of work he's doing, wants to be a better version of themselves. And therefore, I am a strong believer in the fact that if you empower people to do better and encourage them when they are doing well, they continue to perform, in a very, very high standard. Now, once you have created the team, one of the issues is retaining the team. There will always be additions and deletions from the team. That's a part of the process, and that has to be accepted. But especially in our sort of situation in India, at least, and I'm sure in other LMICs, many a time the doctor also does a lot of the management. But nowadays, with more trained managers, healthcare managers available, I think they are very useful, because they allow the doctors to concentrate on the medical part and don't have to stress on the day-to-day management. One of the other things I've learned is overworking people definitely leads to a reduction in the quality. And it's always better to add people to the team rather than overwork someone. Continuing education not only is important for doctors, it's important for the others also. And for doctors, I think we have to look at enhancement as clinicians to improve our patient results. But in a specialty such as limb reconstruction, I think it is also important to improve their enhancement as teachers, so that we can increase the number of people who are able to practice this sort of specialty better. So that's my team today, a long way from 94 when we were 4 of us. Now we've got a much larger number of people in the OT. We usually have 2 to 3 fellows, a significant number of support staff who are focused towards this kind of work. And therefore, finally, as a take home, I would say one should aim for the highest quality that is possible in terms of work. Identify what are the problems and roadblocks. Once you identify them, you can address them one by one. It's not an easy job, but neither is it something that is terribly difficult. I think if you put your mind to it, eventually you will get there. Thank you.